Hello again, everyone. It's been a busy day today, so this is probably going to be the last video I'm going to do on the depositions today. I don't even know if there are any more, actually. I've been busy recording my because I'm covering the lawsuit the Macrons are brought against Candace Owens. So if you haven't checked that out, I'm reading through the 250-page lawsuit filed by the Macrons. It's worth a look. It's really interesting. I will be moving on next week or later this week to the response from Candace Owens. Have no prefixed opinions on anything, just literally reading the lawsuit and following the case. But I needed to get to these exhibits, so I did earlier the Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni one, which threw up a few interesting parts in it. I'm infuriated already with Blake Lively, I will say that, because unlike Wayfarer, who put in, much shorter, relevant parts of transcript, Blake Lively is throwing in hundreds of pages, like 100-page chunks of deposition transcript under one exhibit. Both Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni's went over 100 pages each. I'm clearly not going to read all of that in one setting, so I had to kind of just scroll around and find some interesting parts. I have Alex Saks. This is also 83 pages long, but I have found a few. I'm just going to talk about a few interesting parts in this that are relevant to the lawsuit and see where we kind of go. So we are starting on page 67. Alex Saks is being shown a document. One thing I noted here, and I'm not really sure what's happened here, is the time seems to jump. So she's been shown the exhibit at 36 minutes past 11 and 58 seconds. And then Ellen objects, or she kind of says, interrupts Alex Saks being asked the question, do you recognize this document? And Ellen then says, can we wait until everyone has a copy of the exhibit? And the time seems to jump back to 15 minutes past 10 and 44 seconds before jumping forward again to 11 minutes and 37 minutes past 11 and 33 seconds. So I don't know what happened there. It's just an observation. It's probably nothing, but it's just something I noticed. Okay, so I'll start from the question. Miss Saks, do you recognize this email? Alex, vaguely. Question, this is an email from Mr. Baldoni to you, dated February 19th, 2023, correct? Alex, yes. Question, if you redirect your attention to the second paragraph, it reads, I want to apologize to the group, especially to Alex. Do you see that? Alex, yes. Question, what did you understand Mr. Baldoni to be apologizing to you for? Alex, I believe the day before we were on a call or a Zoom where he yelled at me. Question, Mr. Baldoni yelled at you? Alex, I believe so. Question, when you say he yelled at you, did he raise his voice? Alex, I believe so. Question, do you recall who else was on the Zoom? Alex, I believe everyone on the email chain, and it may have been a call. Question, Miss Giannetti, Mr. Kaloff, AJ Marbury, yourself, and Mr. Baldoni were in the meeting. Alex, I don't know that AJ was. That's his assistant. But Ange, Jamie, and Kaloff probably were, along with Justin. Question. What do you recall about this meeting in February of 2023 in which Mr. Baldoni yelled at you? Alex. I don't remember much. But reading the email, I believe he was talking about his own abuse. Yeah. When I tried to voice an opinion, he yelled at me. But I don't remember exactly what the words were. So can we just bear in mind the context of the conversation was Justin Baldoni was talking about when he was abused. Question. Do you recall the gist of what he yelled at you? Alex. I don't recall. Question. Do you recall what opinion you were voicing at the time? Alex. I don't. Well, this is helpful. Question. In the second paragraph, Mr. Baldoni writes, I feel like I have failed at being a safe place for others, so I want to apologize for my behavior yesterday. For me, it was not acceptable. I try very hard not to interrupt the women in my life, and unfortunately, I've been failing in that on quite a few occasions over the last few months, oftentimes, and yesterday in particular, to you. Do you see that? Alex. Yes. Question. And did you agree with Mr. Baldoni that he had failed at being a safe place for others? Alex. I have no idea. Question. Did you feel that he had failed at being a safe space for you? Alex. I don't need him to be a safe space for me. Question. Did you agree with Mr. Baldoni that his behaviour and yelling at you during the February 2023 meeting was not acceptable? Alex. Yes. Question. Why? Alex. I don't yell at work colleagues, nor do I like being yelled at. Alex. Question. Do you think it's inappropriate to yell at your colleagues? Alex. Personally. Question. Do you recall during this February 2023 call Mr. Baldoni interrupting you? Alex. I don't recall. Question. Was it your experience on the set that Mr. Baldoni would often interrupt you when you were speaking? Alex. Did you say on the set? Question. In connection with the film? Alex. Oh, yes. Question. Mr. Baldoni often interrupted you while you were speaking? Alex. Sometimes. Question. Did you observe Mr. Baldoni interrupt other women in connection with the film? Alex. I can't recall. Question. Towards the end of that paragraph, Mr. Baldoni writes, it reads something, but then it skips to page 74. Alex Saks is then answering a question. We don't know what the question is. And she says, the other times that I recall, usually in group meetings where other women were present, but I never saw him directly mansplain to one woman or a group of women. It was more a big conversation with a group in a production meeting or something. Question. Did you observe Mr. Baldoni yell at anyone else in connection with the film other than you? Alex. Not that I can recall. Question. Did Mr. Baldoni yell at you more than once in connection with the film? Alex. Yes. Question. How many times would you estimate that Mr. Baldoni yelled at you? Alex. I believe it was 3. Question. Would that be 2 times in addition to this February 2023 meeting? Alex. I believe so. What are the other 2 incidents that you recall Mr. Baldoni yelling at you? Alex. One other was also on, as I believe the other time was on Zoom. It was a notes Zoom. I don't remember the details beyond that, and then on a follow-up Zoom, he apologized to me in front of the entire group for doing so on the previous Zoom. So, you mentioned a notes Zoom. What is that? Alex. Where we would get on a Zoom and have a meeting about the latest draft and talk about whatever creative notes we all had. So during a meeting to discuss notes of the draft, on the draft of the script, Mr. Baldoni yelled at you. Alex. Yes. Do you recall what he yelled at you? Alex. I don't. Do you recall the topic that was being discussed at the time he yelled at you? I don't. Do you recall who else is present during the Zoom when he yelled at you on the Zoom with respect to discussing notes about the current draft of the script? Alex, I believe Ange, Jamie, and probably Koloff. Is that Andrew Koloff? Yes. Roughly when do you recall the Zoom? The notes Zoom occurring during which Mr. Baldoni yelled at you. Alex, I believe it was in January of 2023. Do you recall the general topic of discussion during that Zoom? Alex, just a script. Do you recall Mr. Baldoni also mansplained to you during that note Zoom in January of 2023? Ellen, objection. And the time is fine there. Alex, I don't recall. Do you recall whether he interrupted you during that note Zoom of January of 2023? Alex, I don't recall. You mentioned there was a third incident in which Mr. Baldoni yelled at you, is that right? Alex, yes. And when was that, roughly? Alex, that was on set during the end of the first round of shooting. Would that have been roughly June 2023? Alex, I believe so. What do you recall about the meeting on set with Mr. Baldoni in which he yelled at you? We were shooting at the route location. It was a very stressful day of shooting because we had a lot of work to do in a short amount of time. He came up behind monitor where I was sitting. Jamie and Ange were behind me, and he came up to me and asked how I thought the scene was going and if he was getting it, which I thought he did, and also expressed that I didn't believe he needed more coverage. And then he yelled at me and said that, I don't remember exactly, but something to the effect of, I don't actually remember exactly what he said. But he yelled something and then slammed his hands on the director's chair next to me and walked away. And then I turned around and looked at Amy, Ange, and Jamie. Ange and Jamie, are they called Amy, are they? Like Sheldon and Amy Farrah Fowler being called Shamey. Ange and Jamie, and said that if he did that, something like that to me one more time, that I was going to walk off the movie. Why did you feel like you would walk off the movie if he behaved in that manner again? Alex, it was the first time I felt physically intimidated. Why did you feel physically intimidated during that interaction with Mr. Baldoni? Alex, because he slammed his hands on a chair right next to me while yelling at me and saying my name. That's the one thing I remember is he said Alex. Right, well, we got some of the conversation. He yelled Alex and then slammed his hands on the chair. Alex, yes. Can you describe for me where you were when that happened? I know you mentioned that you were filming the route scene. What did that look like? Alex, we were in a restaurant, and the front of the restaurant is where we were filming, and then there was sort of a divider in the restaurant, and Village was behind the divider towards the back of the restaurant. And that's where I was sitting in one of the first chairs closest to the monitor at Village. So you were sitting at the Village. Was anyone who was around you? Alex, Ange and Jamie were sitting in two chairs behind me. Was anyone else there? Alex, there was probably lots of crew milling around, but no one I can remember specifically. The crew would have been milling around the Village and also the area where the actual filming was taking place in front of the restaurant. Alex, correct, but also bringing either equipment or props back and forth from the back entrance up to the front where the shooting was happening. Did you say what prompted Mr. Baldoni to yell your name and slam his hands down on a chair was that you gave him a note that you didn't think he needed more coverage of the scene? Alex, yes. I said I didn't think he needed more coverage of the scene, and I think he wanted to shoot more coverage of the scene. What do you mean when you say more coverage of the scene? Coverage of a scene, Alex, coverage of a scene is shooting a scene from various different angles. Okay. Then later, further on, she asks, were there any other physical movements that Mr. Baldoni was making? Was he getting big, for example? Was he approaching you? Alex, not that I can recall. Okay. So what I've learned so far is Baldoni shouted at her over phone or Zoom twice, and he profusely apologized for both times. She can't remember the context of why or what was said. He then did it in person as well. Again, she doesn't recall anything he particularly said other than her name, and he slammed his hands down on the chair. Again, there's context, like there was with the Zoom call where he was talking about his abuse. By June of 2023, Baldoni was having a real hard time with Blake Lively at that point. I'm not excusing anything at all, but I am just saying, like, people have human reactions. It does not mean harassment, abuse, or anything else. And from the sounds of it, he's a decent enough guy that catches himself and then makes a point of apologizing. The other thing we've had is that Baldoni did not mansplain anything to women, did not regularly interrupt women. Okay. Not sure how good Blake Lively thinks this is. Okay, so we slightly move further down. We're about to see that it's actually not just Justin Baldoni or Jamie Heath that Alex Saks has an issue with. I have seen the part of the transcript at the start where she is feeling that, Sony needed to kind of oversee things from a HR perspective early on, before anything had actually gone wrong, just because Wayfarer was a fairly new company, a small company, and, like a shoot of this size needed, given that Sony was involved, that they should have overseen it. So again, I didn't infer anything bad by that request. I don't like particularly Alex Saks and what I've learned of her, but I can't knock the fact that she is an experienced producer, has worked on some fairly large projects, and does carry that experience with her. And if she's making a recommendation for that, in my opinion, it's probably would have been for Wayfarer's benefit as much as anyone else's, as we are now seeing with all of these allegations unfolding, and really quite innocent interactions being mischaracterized. But here, Baldoni's not the only problem, apparently. Question: the set was not being well run or managed during the first phase of production by Mr. Baldoni? Alex, it wasn't just Mr. Baldoni. We started the shoot with a very weak first AD. Our production team was very tiny and overwhelmed, and then we had Wayfarer as the decision-making studio, which was also very green. Question: who was the very weak first AD that you mentioned? Alex, Julie Bloom. Question: why did you believe Miss Bloom to be very weak? Alex, she had come from, more recently, the television world, which does not require ADs unless you are working on the pilot to really construct the framework for how a production is going to run. And so doing this film, from my memory, she had not done one in a while, and we were just not set up for the success as an operation. So Alex Saks was not overly impressed with Julie Bloom. Okay. Question: in your view, did Miss Bloom meet those Alex, no, I think she hard, but she was not able to wrap her head around the entire machine. Question: did you recommend terminating Miss Bloom as first AD on the film? Alex, I was not the first to recommend it, but ultimately, yes. Question, and you supported terminated Miss Bloom? Alex, I did. Okay. You support terminated Miss Bloom as the first AD on the film set, right? Is that right? Alex, I did. Alex, I think he was deeply overwhelmed and despite a long prep, very unprepared on a daily basis for a lot of reasons. I mean, in fairness, when you had Blake Lively changing the script with like a day's notice, or moving locations, or, you know, just constantly pulling at everything that had already been planned and organized and put in place, I think it, to me, I would say it sounds less like he was unprepared and more like he kept constantly having to live with having the rug pulled from under him. And Alex Saks should know that. All right, we do jump a little bit. So they're showing text between her and Lively. I don't know why they do that. Oh yeah, I'll show you a text message for. I'll show you a text message between you and Ange Giannetti and you and Blake Lively. And then they jump then, skip a page and go to page 101. Okay. So she talks about the concerns that Jenny Slate brought up at a lunch between the two of them at the end of May. Question, what concerns did Miss Slate bring up during your brunch on or around May 29th? Alex, I don't remember exact language that was used, but there were a few. One was that in a scene, I believe the week prior, Justin had commented on her physical appearance, which made her uncomfortable. I mean, it was the character's wardrobe. That in an initial creative Zoom meeting between Justin, Blake, and Jenny and Blake only found out at the very end of the Zoom that Justin had been recording it the whole time. And that made both Blake and Jenny, from Jenny's point of view, feel very uncomfortable. There was a mention of some kind of comments that Jamie had made to Jenny regarding how generous they had been with her housing allowance and that it was important for them to take care of new mothers. And that made her uncomfortable. Why? I will never understand this. Your boss gives you a lot of money to get out of the rent or lease that the property that they're already paying for you to be in, by the way, for this filming. And they give her a lot of money to get out of that and go to somewhere safer for her young child. And she's not happy about it. She's not happy because they make a point of saying, we care about young mothers. She comes off as an asshole to me for even raising that as a concern or a complaint. And I feel like Alex Saks even kind of going on with this and saying, yeah, fair enough, she's equally an asshole. It's just, it annoys me, it does, right? Because women want to be respected as mothers. You got Blake Lively, you know, like, how dare you show me a birthing video? Like, I've had 4 kids. I know exactly what I'm doing. But also, Jenny Slate, you recognize me as a mum. How dare you? It's like, fuck's sake, what do you want from these guys? What do you actually want? Apart from the sequel. Right. And then there was a lot of other conversations, non-specific, that she was uncomfortable in both of their presences and really would prefer to never see Jamie again, knowing that Justin was the director and co-star. She would have to. Miss Slate says that she would never want to see Mr. Heath again. Alex, correct. And it's your impression that Miss Slate knew that she would have to see Mr. Baldoni because he was the director and co-star, but perhaps she didn't want to see him either? Alex, I can't speak to that, but that was my assumption. All right, we are jumping ahead. I'm hoping that she's got something on the meeting at the penthouse. Okay, so I've jumped ahead a little bit because now Alex has been shown an exhibit, a text message that she sent to Ange Giannetti, which says, and I don't know what the context is or what she's responding to, but this text Alex Saks sends to Ange Giannetti says, yes, very bad. I think we need to replace our director and Jamie should not be on set. Do you see that? Now, one thing I want to say is she's in no position to make this kind of demand. She should not be going to Sony to say we need to replace the director. Wayfarer were producing the film. They were financing the film. Yes, Sony was in partnership with them, but, it's almost like she playing off one against another and being quite dismissive of Wayfarer's role in this as a company, as well as It Ends With Us movie. But Justin is the one that he owns the rights. He has made the decision to produce the film. Alex Saks is in no position to be saying, well, we need to get rid of the director. She doesn't get to make that decision. Neither does Sony. I can't believe, actually, that she's even suggesting this. And I also do feel, I've seen in another deposition transcript, that Alex Saks felt like she did not like the fact that Jamie Heath was brought on as the main producer in above her, effectively. She did not feel like, with Julie Bloom, she felt that she was the more experienced and therefore almost superior to Jamie Heath. And she was quite bent out of shape about the fact that he was put in front of her. So she's saying, well, Justin needed to be replaced as a director because his actors were uncomfortable in his presence. But then they asked, well, did you think Jamie should not be on set? And he said, well, because and her answer to that, right, is answer to the question, why did you think Jamie should not be on set? The CEO of Wayfarer Studios should not be on set. Her answer is, because I knew that I was more than capable of running the movie. They just weren't letting me. So this is another woman who's trying to take control and trying to push out a male from his position to say, well, I know what I'm doing. And whilst her experience may be, better and may be longer, she may have done more of the bigger projects, these people were given roles, and some of these women were actively trying to push their way and push them out. It was just... She then does go on to say, so if he was making someone uncomfortable, I didn't see the reason for him to be there. But she'd already started that entire answer with, well, I knew I was more than capable of running the movie. They weren't letting me. And she really sounds you know, kind of almost vindictive, pissed off that Jamie Heath was given the producer role. And then you start to see the mindset, but when you couple that with Blake Lively just pushing herself into fucking everything, directing, acting, wardrobe, makeup, hair, dealing with people's nudity writers, writing the damn script, the marketing. You put these two together in a room and you start seeing then the inner workings of some really, really horrible women, selfish women. I mean, honestly, the only problem Jenny Slate had with Jamie Heath was the comment about, protecting new mums whilst he was writing a check for, if I remember correctly, it was something like $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. It was not a small amount to get her an apartment that was safer for her young son, her infant child. And because of that, she wanted Jamie Heath excluded from set. Because it says here, the question, did you believe that excluding Mr. Heath from set would make actors more comfortable in their workplace? Alex, for at least Jenny, yes. The only interaction that she claims she had with him negatively was that one comment about protecting new mothers. I mean, how wild is that? You want someone literally removed from their position, their project, just because you took offense to something that's not even offensive, for God's sake. This is just really, really upsetting and disgusting. Right. So, Alex Saks went to Ange Giannetti. She was the one that went to Sony and said that the actors were uncomfortable in their workplace due to Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni's behaviour. And when we say actors, there were two catty, bitchy, nasty women who seemed to be colluding with each other and making something out of nothing. And then they roped in their disgruntled producer, Alex Saks, who then went to Sony and said, we need to replace these two people. And Sony said, they can't do that. Their hands are tied. They have no control over the movie. Wayfarer would never replace themselves. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Question. Okay, after you had brunch with Jenny and she raised concerns about Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behaviour, you had a Zoom with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath to discuss Jenny's concerns. Alex, correct. Question. And during that Zoom, did you share with them that Miss Slate had concerns with respect to Mr. Baldoni's comments about her appearance, comments made by Mr. Heath and other items as well? Alex, yes. Question. How did they react? Alex, they actually took it very well. In terms of they didn't at the time deny or get defensive about it. They just seemed to be taking it in. And that made it not as challenging of a conversation for me to be having with them, which I appreciated. Question. When you suggested or recommended that an investigation be performed, how did Mr. Baldoni respond? Alex, he was very open to it. She then says that Baldoni was happy to have an investigation and that he should take responsibility for things he's done. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go one step further now as well, because I'm already getting annoyed with this. This is probably the most angry I've been, apart from when I was subpoenaed. I just want to go into this, right? During that Zoom call, so this is a Zoom call, obviously, where she's relaying to Ethan Baldoni, Jenny Slate's got these concerns, right? This question, during that Zoom call, following your brunch with Miss Slate, did you also raise that Miss Lively had certain concerns about Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behaviour? Now, this Zoom call was after the lunch, I think on May 29th, with Jenny Slate. So this was the first half of the production, right? Her response to being questioned, did you raise Miss Lively's concerns with Baldoni and Heath's behaviour? She answers, no, because I did not know that for sure yet. Now, she was there when Jamie Heath went into her trailer. She was there. She would have been there when they were filming the scene in the bar where Justin is allegedly told Lively that her outfit looked sexy, her wardrobe looked sexy. She would have been behind the monitors. She would have been there for a lot of these issues because, you know, like the birth scene, etc. So I'm finding it odd that, you know, especially when Jenny Slate is saying, well, this happened in this scene, you know, like he called my outfit sexy one day, but he also called Blake Lively's outfit sexy and, you know, so on and so forth. And this is what I said in response. And so, because there was there was a bit of back and forth over when he said it to Lively in the scene that we've seen the behind the scenes footage of. And Jenny Slate kind of, you know, like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. And she's interjecting because she's there. Alex Saks should have seen that footage. And whether she was actually physically there behind the monitors as a producer, I'm not sure, but she should have seen the footage. So, I'm having a bit of issue that she's like, oh yeah, but I didn't say anything about Lively because I wasn't sure. She would have been there for a couple of those incidences. So I'm confused. She also could have at the very least said, well, and Jenny says that this happened with Blake, and she could have initiated the conversation. Because if I remember correctly, when they were reading the anti-harassment policy, Wayfarer's anti-harassment policy, all members of staff at any level have a duty to, you know, report concerns. She is not a member of staff for Wayfarer directly, but she is a member of staff for Into This Movie. So then there's this. We've moved forward a bit. In Blake Lively's, I don't know whether it was her deposition, her hair makeup assistant's deposition, or one of the filings, but somewhere, Blake Lively is claiming that when Jamie Heath knocked the trailer, that she shouted, "No, don't come in." Alex Saks, who was there, wrote this text message at the time to Ange Giannetti. And it says, and then they're talking about what Blake's talking about, like a meeting with Baldoni, Heath, Lively. Miss Lively also raised an issue with Mr. Baldoni coming into her trailer uninvited. Okay. And then Alex Saks has read back a text that she wrote to Ange Giannetti at the time, which said, and then she also mentioned that I guess on day 2, Jamie went into Blake's trailer. And she was like, oh, actually, I'm getting body makeup done. Well, you can come in if you don't look. And apparently he was looking in her direction the entire conversation when she turned around. So this this keeps changing, this story. It started with she was getting body makeup up and she was kind of, undressed, but now it's been ramped up to she was topless. And in the she's alleging, basically, or her assistants are alleging, that when he knocked the door, he was told don't come in and come in anyway. Here, Alex Saks, who was with him, is saying he was actually invited in. What happened in there, I don't know, because I don't know if Alex Saks went in the trailer with him, but it was fed back to her that, he was asked to turn around. Jamie Heath says he did turn around. Alex Saks says that Blake Lively told him that he was actually looking in her direction the entire time. So, question here is, do you recall Miss Lively sharing whether she had clothes on at the time? Alex, I don't recall, but I'm saying if she was getting body makeup done, then she didn't have clothes on. Now, it was a tiny little, makeup tattoo on her collarbone, or the bite mark. It might have been the bite. No, it was the bite mark. It was like a bite mark that was on her tattoo, on her, oh God, a bite mark that was on her collarbone. That is it. It was not body makeup like everywhere. She would have just needed a towel around her top, above her boobs, basically. They would have been easily able to access the collarbone where the makeup was being either applied or removed. That is ridiculous to suggest that she was in total undress for that. I mean, I suppose technically I was right on both counts, because she had a tattoo of that heart, didn't she, on her collarbone, and that was what he was trying to bite off in the film. So it would have been on a collarbone, and absolutely not needed her to be entirely undressed. That is just, I don't think that's, I think it's nonsensical. Because actually, Alex Saks is actually asked the question here. Did Miss Lively share with you that when Mr. Heath attempted to enter her trailer, she and her team yelled, "No, no, no, don't come in"? And Alex Saks says, I don't remember. Do you recall Lively conveying she was uncomfortable with Mr. Heath looking at her while she was getting her makeup undone or done? Alex Saks, I don't remember. And Giannetti responded to your text with regard to Mr. Heath entering Blake's trailer and said, not good. You responded, nope. Do you see that? Correct. Okay. Any other cast or crew members you were aware of having concerns about Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behaviour? Alex: specifically, no, but in general, a lot of the crew felt the production was being run in a way that wasn't up to industry standard. What do you mean by up to industry standard? Alex: that they just did things a little differently. Yeah, which I think mostly was due to the inexperience. So there was no other, apart from Lively and Slate, there was no one else feeling uncomfortable. And yet, in Blake Lively's motion for opposition for the motion for summary judgment, she brings in herself, Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferreira, gosh, the Candace Owens lawsuit is confusing me now. Christy Hall, Alex Saks, Colleen Hoover, all these people were uncomfortable. I think what's really upsetting is Colleen Hoover, Alex Saks, and Liz Plank, all friends with Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath for quite some time, years before this film, before Blake Lively come anywhere near it. There was never a problem. They maintained friendships. If they were that bad, they would have cut ties, right? Suddenly, Blake Lively comes on the scene. People suddenly have problems, and then it becomes, there wasn't much, but suddenly these two, Heath and Baldoni, become monsters overnight, and things that may have been different but were not a big deal, it's just the way they interacted, are suddenly now, oh no, it's harassment. Isabella Ferreira and Brandon Sklenar both said they had a safe, comfortable working environment. 2 minutes with Blake Lively, and then they've changed their mind. This is not a coincidence. Okay, now we get into Book Bonanza. Question: did you have an understanding why Miss Hoover would not say Mr. Baldoni's name at Book Bonanza? And by the way, I've dug up an interview where Alex Saks would not say his name. Would not even answer a question that was specifically about Baldoni. She would then divert to someone else, like, another female production member or Blake Lively. She did it herself. Did you have an understanding why Miss Hoover would not say Mr. Baldoni's name at Book Bonanza? Alex: I believe at that point I was aware that Blake and Colleen had discussed basically all of what had happened to Blake on the film. So there we go. Confirmation. Blake Lively spoke to Colleen Hoover. Question: your understanding was that Miss Lively had discussed with Miss Hoover how she had been treated by Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath on the film. Alex: correct. And her discomfort with that treatment. Alex: yes. At 8:44, when you say neither of them would mention JB's name, who else were you referring to other than Miss Hoover? Alex: I assume Blake. Question: is it your recollection that Miss Lively also would not say Mr. Baldoni's name at Book Bonanza? Alex: yes. All right. Exhibit 11, text exchange between Alex Saks and Ange Giannetti, June 15th. Oh, here we go. Ange Giannetti says, call me, and later on at 2:53 you write, she asked you, did you get any details back then? And you respond, Justin was very dismissive of her when she said she wanted to direct, and then used Jamie to try and manipulate her when he realized she could co-direct it after she got Daddy-O going. So there we go. They admit that Blake Lively wanted to try and direct. Justin did not want her to try and direct. And what is Daddy-O? Who the hell is Daddy-O? And then she used Jamie to try and manipulate her when he realized. She then used Jamie to try and manipulate her when he realized she could co-direct it after she got Daddy-O going. I've got no idea what the hell that is all about. And then she's asked, do you recall what this text was in reference to? And Alex Saks, for some inexplicable reason, says no. How can you forget what that is about? I might just start calling her Dory Saks. Do you recall if you and Miss Janetti had a conversation about concerns being raised by Christy Hall with respect to Mr. Baldoni being dismissive of her? Alex, yes. Now I know what it's about. Question, what do you recall with respect to Miss Hall's concerns, if any, about Mr. Baldoni? That initially he was dismissive of her wanting to direct. I don't remember much more than that. What, Christy Hall wanted to direct? I don't understand. She's a screenwriter. Okay, so he may have been talking about Christy Hall. But again, is that seriously another woman who wants to direct a film that Justin Baldoni is already the director of and then being upset? And I still don't understand. And then used Jamie to try and manipulate her when he realized she could co-direct it after she got Daddy-O going. What the hell is Daddy-O? And then she felt like he tried to use her for cover with Blake and Colleen a bunch. Do you have an understanding of what you were referencing there? Alex, yeah. She was a female writer, and he would say, that he wanted to give her the chance to write her way in, etc. Question, it was your impression that Miss Hall was concerned with Mr. Baldoni using her as cover with Blake and Colleen with regard to the script? Alex, I guess so. I just think this is ridiculous. It was her script, Christy Hall's script, that Blake Lively was trying to rewrite, and Justin was saying, well, no, we've already got a talented female writer. And Christy Hall was affronted that he was trying to defend her work. What is going on? Did Miss Hall also share with you, as you expressed at 2:57, she didn't feel respected as a female voice on the team, and on a movie like this, that felt especially bad? How is she not respected as a female voice? Blake Lively rewrote her rooftop scene, and it wasn't even her that wrote it. It was her husband. And Alex Saks calls Justin Baldoni a narcissist. Yes, Alex Saks is upset that Jamie Heath was put as lead producer over her, but he's the narcissist. At 301, you write, him and Jamie have a way of making women feel like shit. Do you see that? Alex, and some men, yes. If you go down to the message at 3:03 p.m, please, you write, I remember you calling me around 2 one night being like, what the fuck, because so much of it was these minuscule microaggressions. Microaggressions. Alright, just having a look now. Around the time of Book Bonanza, did you come to understand that certain cast and crew did not want to appear in press and promotion with Mr. Baldoni? Alex, yes. Question, who? Alex, I don't remember exactly because she doesn't remember shit. But I want to say everyone except Hassan. Question, would that have been Miss Lively, Miss Slate, Miss Farrer, Mr. Sklenar, and Miss Hoover, who did not, and Miss Hall, who did not want to appear in press or promotion with Mr. Baldoni? Alex, correct. Question, did you have an understanding as to why these individuals did not want to appear in press or promotion with Mr. Baldoni? Alex, I believe because of everything that had transpired or what they heard had just transpired. Okay. Okay. A text between Alex Saks and Blake Lively. Question, if you turn please to your text at 3:04 a.m. in the 3:04 a.m., 3 in the morning. And Justin Baldoni's the weirdo for leaving a voice message at 2 in the morning. If you turn please to your text at 3:04 a.m. in the middle of the message you write, the cut is excellent. Like I said, the best thus far. Truly beautiful. Beautiful work, Blake. I think this last leg of the journey is going to be really sweet for everyone, and that's because of you. Colleen might be the mother, but you're the fucking fairy godmother for everyone. Oh my god. Oh. I'm always at your disposal for whatever you need. I bet you are. I fucking bet you are. To lie as well in a deposition, is that, disposal? I am always at your disposal for whatever you need, creatively or otherwise. I'm incredibly proud of this film. Oh my god. I thought she was a bit more neutral than this. Because she may have been blowing smoke up Blake's asshole, but, she was also sending messages of support to Justin as well and saying, oh my god, this is terrible what she's doing. I can't believe she's doing this. She didn't want Blake to have the dailies. Question, is that consistent with your experience that Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni sidelined you as a producer in connection with the film? Alex Saks, completely. Well, here we have it. She felt sidelined by the male people involved in this, the actual, copyright owner and leaders of the production company, the director, the co-lead. But, she was kind of, yeah, all right, Blake, whatever you need, hun. Oh my god, I'm so angry reading this shit. What else have we got? Okay, do you recall a meeting on or around January 4th at Miss Lively's home in which she expressed concerns with respect to Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behaviour on set? Alex, yes. Can you please turn toward paragraph 20 in their complaint? Mia's whinging. Read it. My question for you would be whether the 30 points identified on that page are consistent with what you recall Miss Lively speaking to you during the January 4th meeting. Right, question. Are the 30 points identified in paragraph 20 of that complaint consistent with what you recall Miss Lively speaking to you during the January 4th meeting? Alex, I don't remember every point one by one. I remember most of them. Okay, you can set that aside. Was Miss Lively eventually awarded a PGA producer's mark for her work on The Ends With Us? I mean, Alex Saks also got sidelined as a producer here by Blake Lively. Yet she's still a #1 fan. Alex, yes. Question, you submitted a letter in support of her obtaining that producer's mark, correct? Oh, did she? Alex, yes. Question, did you also speak with other cast and crew members about submitting letters on Miss Lively's behalf to obtain a PGA's producer's mark? Alex, I spoke with other crew. Okay. Oh, there's a letter from Ms. Is it Andrea? Oh, no, I can't remember his name now. Ms. Agemian, in support of Miss Lively's producer mark. Oh, there was a letter from Russell Barnes in support of Miss Lively's PGA producer's mark. Did you agree, based on your experience, that Miss Lively deserved the PGA producer's mark that she was awarded in connection with the film? Alex, yes. Okay, now we've got Wayfarers Council asking a few questions. Okay, so they're talking about the premiere of the film now. Okay, with respect from this is Wayfarer's question now. With respect to Mr. Baldoni's presence at the premiere, had Miss Lively made any demands? Alex, what I had been told was that they shouldn't be on the carpet together and that they would be in a separate theatre and be having a separate party. Question, were you aware of any efforts by Miss Lively to have the cast and crew defriend Mr. Baldoni on social media about this time? Alex, I was not until the press started reporting about it. Question, and do you know, as you sit here today, whether or not that's accurate? Alex, I don't. And you don't know whether or not Miss Lively froze Mr. Whether or not Miss Lively froze Mr. Baldoni out of the marketing, is that correct? Alex, I had heard that she was running it, but I didn't technically know if he was also talking to them on the side. I know marketing and publicity were kind of sometimes having two conversations about things. Question, at the time of the premiere, when you texted that she was virtually taking over the film, Did you have any discussions with Mr. Baldoni on the subject? Alex. So that text was back in post. That was about 2 months before the premiere. I believe I did talk to Justin around when that sort of final takeover was happening, and I think that was one of our last conversations. You know, it's Alex Saks concedes, despite her being a cheerleader for Blake Lively, she concedes that there was a takeover in these messages and in this deposition. Question, and what did Mr. Baldoni say to you? Alex, I think he was upset, but if I remember correctly, he was kind of shockingly in good spirits and accepting of the whole thing. Question, did she ever complain to you that the script did not accurately reflect the book in sum or substance? Alex, no. Question, what do you know about the entry on the list having to do with Mr. Baldoni contacting Miss Lively's trainer? Alex, I know that incident really right after it happened because Justin asked Jamie and I to come to his apartment and he talked us through exactly what happened. He was really shaken by it, upset, embarrassed, felt trapped. Question, what exactly did Mr. Baldoni tell you about the incident with Miss Lively's trainer? Alex, well, he said that he had asked the trainer what her weight was because he had a back injury and he was going to have to be lifting her in one of the intimate scenes. And I guess the trainer, I don't even know if the trainer responded, but the trainer took that question and went to Ryan and Blake and what had happened that day was Ryan and Blake confronted Justin about it. It sounded like he could possibly do that. Again, I don't remember all the details, but it sounded like it went on for a bit. Yeah, 6 hours. Oh no, that was the second meeting. But this one probably went on for hours too. And then Justin was very upset, so he called Jamie and I to come hear about it. Question, did Mr. Baldoni, if you know, ever apologise to Miss Lively? Alex, I believe he did, but I don't exactly recall. Question, as a producer of the movie in which the lead actor has to lift the lead actress, did you find anything offensive about Mr. Baldoni trying to find out how much she weighed? Alex, I don't know that I found it offensive. I understand it on a practical level, but she was a woman who had just had a baby and was clearly uncomfortable with her body and her weight. So it was more of an insensitive, stupid question that maybe we could have gotten the answer another way. Okay, and that's that. I'm going to leave it for that. I will continue going through these depositions probably tomorrow now. I am stunned, absolutely floored at Alex Saks. I am. The fact that she's kind of like, I don't remember anything, just makes her such a useless witness. Anyway, all right, guys, have a really good evening.